It's now 6:30. I'd like to call order the Regional Planning Commission business meeting for Thursday, September the 10th at 6:30, like I just said. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll ask Mr. Delbert Mills to lead us in the pledge. Thank you, and we welcome you all here. And as I usually say, if you have a phone or electronic device, please make sure it's either turned off or on vibrate so it won't interrupt our meeting tonight. Sarah, now I ask you for the roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Mr. Peterman?
Present.
Mr. Servan?
Here.
Mrs. Karcher?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 7 present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. You also have in front of you the agenda for tonight. Are there any additions or deletions or changes to the agenda? And if there isn't, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servan?
Yes.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. You also have in front of you the action taken by Levy Court on the ones that we had already operated and moved on. If you have any questions, please see staff. We're now going to move down to new business. We don't have anything I've missed tonight so far, so I'm batting 100, I guess, or 1,000, whatever you want to call it. Under new business, the first one is C-20-06, Valerie Collins. Request for conditional use approval of a home daycare located inside the growth zone overlay district. She gave a nice introduction last week and talked about it, so does the commissioner have any questions? And if not, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval for application C-20-06 for a home improvement occupation daycare located inside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated September 3rd, 2020. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated September 3rd, 2020. And the findings of fact that A, the subject site is zoned RMH, residential manufactured home, and 205-124 and 205-366 permitted home occupation daycare as a conditional use. B, the location is appropriate and not in conflict with a comprehensive plan. C, the public health, safety, and general welfare will not be adversely affected. Pursuant to Chapter 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware Chapter 4802, the Commission has reviewed the application. Furthermore, as a part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the September 3rd, 2020 staff recommendation report in the following conditions of approval. The applicant shall comply with all conditions per 205-366 of the Kent County Code. B, failure to comply with the conditions of approval or applicable regulations can result in a revocation of any permits issued for the conditional use and revocation of the conditional use itself. Thank you.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servan?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, for motion.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of recommending conditional approval of application C-20-06.
Thank you all and good luck with your project. Next in new business tonight is number 2. It's C-20-07, Raymond Miller. Request for conditional use approval of a farm machinery / equipment repair and service located outside the growth zone overlay district. I believe he was on the phone. He answered all our questions, and he has a good project, I think, to go. Does somebody like to make a motion? Mr. Mills, please.
I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval of the application C-20-07 for a farm machinery equipment repair and service located outside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated September the 3rd, 2020. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated September 3rd, 2020, and a findings of the fact that the subject site is Zone AR, agriculture residential, and 205-64 and 205-289 permit farm machinery equipment repair and service as a conditional use. B, the location is appropriate and not in conflict with with a comprehensive plan. C, the public health, safety, and general welfare will not adversely affect it. Pursuant to Chapter 205 of the Kent County Code, and pursuant to 9 Del C 4802, the Commission has reviewed the application, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the September 3, 2020 staff recommendation report and the following conditions of approval. A, the applicant shall comply with all the conditions for 205-289 of the Kent County Code. B, no retail sales shall be permitted on the property as part of this use. C, failure to comply with the conditions of the approval or applicable regulations can result in a revocation of any permits issued for the conditional use and a revocation of the conditional use itself.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, as per the recommendation.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes for the motion and recommendations.
Mr. Mills? Mr. Mills?
Oh, yes, as the motion.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes, per the motion.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, per motion and staff recommendation.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all reasons given.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of recommending conditional approval of application C-2007.
Thank you so much, and good luck with your project. Next, number 3 tonight on our agenda under new business is CS-20-07, County Line Investments, LLC. Request for conditional use with site plan approval of a contractor's establishment with storage yard located outside the growth zone overlay district. He given a good explanation, and I think he answered all of our questions. So unless the commission has a question, I'd like to have somebody make a motion. Mr. Peterman?
I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval of application CS 20-07, a condition use site plan for a contractor establishment with outdoor storage located outside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendations report dated September 3rd, 2020. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated September 3rd, 2020, and the findings of the fact that the subject site is Zone BG, General Business, AM 205-170 and 205-282 permit contractor establishment with outdoor storage as a conditional use. The location is appropriate and not in conflict with a comprehensive plan. The public health, safety, and general welfare will not be adversely affected. The application is compliant with the adequate public facilities ordinance. Pursuant to chapters 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware Code 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the September 3rd, 2020 staff recommendation report. And furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in September 3rd, 2020 staff recommendation report. The waiver from 187-60B requiring sidewalks from the frontage sidewalk to the building is granted due to the royal nature of the site. The waiver from 187-79D required a 30-foot deep landscape buffer along the frontage of South DuPont Highway is granted a conditional approval. Number 1, no buffer shall be required in the approximately 91 by 94 foot area in the southern front corner of the property that will continue to be farmed. 2, the waiver of the arterial buffer will within the 40-foot tax ditch easement area is granted. However, the 42-foot between the tax ditch easement and the site entrance shall be planted with a variety of trees and shrubs to fulfill the 30-foot arterial buffer requirements. See Exhibit C of the staff recommendation report. 3, additional trees and shrubs shall be planted along the South DuPont Highway frontage south of the site entrance. See Exhibit C of the staff recommendation report. Signage for the contractors established be limited to 1 detached monument style sign to be set back at least 5 feet from the front property line. The top of the sign shall not be taller than 6 foot above grade, and the maximum size of 32 square foot signage shall remain static in nature. No electronic variable signage permitted. D, the final plan must be approved within 24 months of preliminary plan approval, and construction shall commence within 18 months of final plan approval.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, that's promotion.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, as per staff recommendation.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, as per motion of staff.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, approval of the motion.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes, per the motion.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, promotion.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all reasons.
So we have 7 yeas in favor of recommending conditional approval of application CS 2007.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your project. Next on our list tonight is application number 4, which is actually CZ-20-02/LC20-05, Bay Road Properties, LLC. Request to amend the zoning map comprehensive plan from AC, agriculture conservation, and low-density residential and BG general business / highway commercial to BG general business / highway commercial located outside the growth zone overlay district. I think they did a great presentation last week. They answered all of our questions, and they actually had somebody on the phone that couldn't answer questions here. So I now throw it to the commission. Is there any other questions, or is ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend denial of the ordinance LC 20-05, amending the zoning map comprehensive plan from the AC agriculture, conservation, low density, residential, and BG. Highway commercial to BG, highway commercial located outside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated September the 3rd, 2020, Exhibit B. Public hearing testimony dated September the 3rd, 2020, and finding of the fact. The proposed land use and zoning designation do not comply with the standards for rezoning outline 205-408. The character of the area remains largely rural and low-density residential. The proposed land use and zoning designations do not comport with the 2018 comprehensive plan. The area is not shown for potentially commercial use in either map 7B or 2A. The subject site is located along Route 1 corridor between two major transportation infrastructure investments, the South Frederica and Thompsonville intersections. However, it does not fall within the designated master plan area where transportation facilities, water, storage systems, storm drain systems, and fire suppressant facilities are available or planned. There is little compatibility between the use of the property as classified as the subject site is located within the predominantly low-density area with agriculture and residential use.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
I vote yes to deny.
Mr. Servon?
I vote yes for denial.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, I vote yes for denial.
Mr. Mills?
I vote yes on my motion.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes for the motion.
Mr. Davis?
I've had to study this thing pretty thoroughly because I used to live there at one time, so I know that property better than anyone. There's been a business there since 1954 because it was our farm at one time. I can't support this. I read the PLUS program. I don't really agree with everything said in the PLUS documentation that was given to us. DelDOT did say that if it were approved, that he would have to comply with certain standards to meet DelDOT's regulations, and they agreed to do that. You have a piece of property here that's split zone, and I don't think it's right. The question I asked last week was one parcel, and the answer was yes. Last week I asked the staff if the proposed master plan for the Delaware Turf goes down that far, and the answer was no. In the PLUS program, they talk about the master plan being part of it. Well, that's not true. That's not what I've been told. So I can't support it. That business has been there since the 50s, and I don't have a problem with it. DelDOT's making a lot of road changes down there, and so I can't support this motion. In all due respect to my fellow commissioners, because I think it's wrong for a man to have half his property BG and he can't get the rest of his own. It's a low volume business that they're talking about putting in there, a few buildings and I think a RV storage. So unfortunately, I can't support the motion. I know it's going to pass, but that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all reasons given by staff and the PLUS report for denial of the property.
So you have 6 yeas, 1 nay in favor of recommending denial of ordinance LC 2005.
Thank you. Now we go on to the LC 20-08 street bonds, an ordinance to amend Kent County Code, Volume 2, Chapter 187, subdivision and land development, as amended, Article 10, required improvements, subsection 187-55, completion bond, and Article 13, enforcement and penalties, and 187-83, building and occupancy permits, guarantees in order to modify the requirement for street bonds and clarify additional items for which bonds may be required. Sarah?
As we discussed last week, this is an ordinance that effectively removes the requirement that the county collect street bonds or some sort of surety for public streets dedicated to public use, and that will be maintained by the state because DelDOT already collects those bonds and they govern the public streets. It would still allow us to collect bonds or any sort of surety for any other community improvements within a project, so we would be able to focus on that rather than roads. You'll see in the letter from DelDOT, as we discussed, they asked for a couple of language changes, and we've incorporated those in a draft motion for you all to consider.
Thank you. Is there any other questions about this particular ordinance? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Spattarelli, go ahead.
Excuse me. I move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend approval of ordinance LC 2008 street bonds. It is based on memorandum from staff dated August 26, 2020, the letter from DelDOT dated August 31st, 2020, and the findings of the fact that A, it is redundant for the county to be required severity of infrastructure dedicated to the state maintenance for which the state as also holds a surety. Section 2, item 187-83B shall be revised to read, no building permit shall be issued until all required improvements have been installed, constructed, or placed in the lot in acceptable manner to the county, or until applicant files a performance bond or other guarantee with the county for any incomplete public-private street or other requirement improvements for streets dedicated to public use, the intended for state maintenance. Application shall provide proof of security filed and Delaware Department of Transportation prior to building permits being issued.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spinarelli?
Yes, motion.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all reasons given.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of recommending approval of ordinance LC 2008.
Very good. I think that'll help out a lot, especially for some expenses they won't have to incur. Now we go down to the final new business for tonight. It's actually application and title of S-74-13, 1886 Linbury Woods Road. Applicant at Roush Incorporated, 106 North Harrison Street, Easton, Maryland, 21601. The owner is 1886 Dover, LLC, 1886 Linbury Woods Road, Dover, Delaware, 19901. The engineer is Brian Fitzgerald, P.E., 106 North Harrison Street, Easton, Maryland. Property address, 1870 Linbury Woods Road, Dover, Delaware, 19901. Present comprehensive plan map designation, industrial. Present zoning district, IG, general industrial district. Relation to the gross zone inside. Present use, industrial. Proposed use, industrial. Existing building size, 174,840 square feet. Number of parking spaces required, 175, existing 116. Number of loading spaces required, 6, existing 21. Water is on-site well. Sewer is sewer. Levy Court District is 3rd, Mr. Angel. School District is Capital. Fire District is Cheswold. The area and location is 50.371 plus or minus acres at the intersection of Linbury Woods Road, County Road 152, and Morton Road, County Road 92, on the northern boundary of the town of Cheswold. Is there somebody here to represent this application, either online or in the audience? Please come up. If you're not an attorney, please give your name and address. Right up to there. Yes. Give your name and address, and you can be either sworn or affirmed, one at a time.
Will you pull that closer to you, please? The mic. I can't hardly hear you.
Just pull the mic closer to you.
I didn't want to yell into it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Brian Fitzgerald from Rao Incorporated, Easton, Maryland, 21617 or 21601.
Time, you can go first and give you're doing all the one report, and then he can come up and let our attorney either affirm you or swear you in.
Mr. Fitzgerald, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes, sir. I
Thank
do.
you. Proceed.
Go ahead, sir, and once you get, are you doing yours first, or is he going to do his?
I'll do mine. So for the project at hand right now, our client would like to. They need more room for storage on the current lot for manufacturing, industrial operations of the different tenants of the building. So what we're proposing is an asphalt storage yard just to the west of the building. And in order to do this, we will need to do some tree clearing. Per the code, we need to maintain 50% existing trees on the lot. After our tree clearing is complete, we will have still 50% of the existing trees remaining on the lot. As far as the 50% of the site must be less than 50% impervious, so 50% of the site has to be less than 50 impervious. So our proposed impervious is going to still be less than the 50% of the site area with the new asphalt storage yard. So basically, for the storage yard, there's going to be a lot of new runoff from the pavement, and we're proposing to treat that with some stormwater areas to the west of the parking lot. Everything will sheet flow off of the parking area into these stormwater areas, and then be treated with our stormwater management area. It's looking like we're going to have to use submerged gravel wetlands for this. I think from our investigations into the soil, groundwater looks to be a little high, a little shallow, so we're probably going to need to be using shallow or submerged gravel wetlands for treatment. And to discharge the stormwater, we're going to be using an existing storm pumping station that's on the site. We've run calculations. We're ensuring that our submerged gravel wetlands will have less than the existing flow that was originally getting to the pumping station, so not to overload those pumps. The existing pumping station discharges with a force main out the back to the south of the site. We have a landscape plan in place, and we have a lighting plan also in place, some intermittent lights throughout the site. We will be leaving a strip of trees as fencing for the storage area along the west property line, the front property line. We're maintaining I believe it's a 10-foot setback from the property line before any impermeable area. 30-foot, I believe, setback. Actually, I think it's 75-foot setback from the front property line from the storage yard as well. So I believe we're meeting all of the requirements of the code. And with that, I'll hand it over
I
to
see
Mike.
the staff agreed with all that you're talking about, and all you're doing is still falls under code. But just for the record, what kind of business is going to be there?
It will be a fencing manufacturing business.
Is that plastic, wood, whatever?
Vinyl fencing.
Vinyl fencing?
Yes, sir.
It's the old PPG plant, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for this individual? Mr. Davis?
I don't really have any questions. I want to welcome the company to Kent County, Delaware. I know that this was a Delaware Economic Development project, and I know that they're going to be bringing a lot of jobs into Delaware. And I want to welcome the company to Kent County because I've been kind of staying up on this myself, and it's just nice to see them come to Delaware and take that plant and do what you're going to do with it. And I think you've done a great job, and just want to say thank you for coming to our great state. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other commissioners and one on the phone? Anybody have any questions for this individual? If not, I'll call your next gentleman up. He'd like to give his name and his address, and he can be either swore or affirmed.
Hello, my name is Michael Bittner. I live at 13 Front Street, Wyoming. I'm the plant manager at the factory. I moved here to help bring this place to fruition for us.
Hang on, sir. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Proceed.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just here because Brian's presenting it, and so I'm a representative for the company itself. So miss out on this opportunity to be present. And glad to be here, and yeah, we look forward to growing here in the Delaware area.
Well, we welcome you to Delaware, and we're glad you came too.
Yep.
Sounds like it's going to be a good asset for Kent County.
Yeah, we hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody else in the audience to support this, so I'll ask on the negative, is there anybody on the phone or in the audience that would like to talk against this? Nobody, no place, so I'll turn to the commissioners, looking for a motion.
I make the motion, sir.
Mr. Peterman, go ahead.
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grants approval of the revision to S74-131886 Lambury Road, modifying the plan recorded July 9, 2002. This is based on the memorandum from the staff dated September 10, 2020, and the findings of the fact that A, the subject site is zoned IG, general industrial, and warehouse fulfillment of FDA material, miscellaneous plastic products, extrusion of vinyl fence material, and miscellaneous plastic products, vinyl fence and railing fabrication are permitted by right. B, the location is appropriate and not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. C, the public health, safety, and general welfare will not be adversely affected. D, the application is compliant with the adequate public facilities ordinance. Pursuant to Chapter 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware Code 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application, and as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the September 10, 2020 memorandum from staff, February 13, 2020 staff recommendation report, and shall comply with the following condition. A, the final plan must be approved within 24 months of preliminary plan approval, and construction must commence within 18 months of the final plan approval.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, as promotion.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes for the motion.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes for the motion.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all reasons given.
So 7 ayes in favor of granting approval of the revisions to application S7413.
Thank you, everyone, and good luck with your project. Public comment. I don't see very few public in the audience. Is there anybody on the phone? Nobody on the phone. Commissioner comments. Does any of the commissioners have any comments on the phone? I would like to ask one thing, Sarah. As we go through this thing with the COVID-19 and all, I know there's a lot of trouble with the way they supply water or what it's doing here, and I don't know. I would suggest that we go to bottled water. I think it would be much safer, much easier to handle. You wouldn't have the people handling all the stuff or passing them out. And I don't know what other commissioners think about that, but I think the bottled water would be a great idea.
Second.
We're requesting bottled water to be up here instead of the water in the cups and all. Any other commissioner comments? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
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 I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Thank you all, commissioners. Stay safe and stay dry. Thank you.
Sarah, you want these?
Conference recording has stopped. Conference recording has been turned on.
So long.